Hi everyone, it's Kino. When you're practicing yoga, it's very important that you recognize the benefit of the closing postures. Traditionally, the closing postures are meant to seal in the energetics of the practice. So on a physical, spiritual, and emotional level, you use these postures to transition from the deep work of your daily practice into, reintegration into daily life. If you breeze through these or go too quickly, you might feel, unease in the body. You might feel a little discomfort in your joints or a little ungrounded in your mind. So take your time. During the shoulder stand sequence, you want to hold each posture for at least 8 breaths and full shoulder stand or sarvangasana for a minimum of 10 breaths, even potentially up to 15 or 20. Now, when you do the headstand sequence, you also want to hold that for a minimum 25 breaths. And then in the seated postures, each of those is for 10 breaths. Flexibility and strength permitting, of course. You don't want to go in the closing postures too far past your comfort zone because they're meant to be an easy transition. Well, today we're going to look at a posture from the shoulder stand sequence called Matysasna. In English, this is called fish posture. Traditionally, this is entered directly in the flow of shoulder stand. We'll just try it from seated. It's also traditionally done with the lotus position, but I'll show you a modification if you're unable to take the full lotus position. I definitely recommend that you work on the lotus position separately if you're unsure on whether you can do lotus. Don't just go directly into the lotus in this posture. So we'll go ahead and move on to the mat. And then you're going to take your legs into lotus position, and that's how you'll test out if it's all right. If you can't sit comfortably in lotus position, you won't be able to do Matysasna lotus position. So first we're going to start off with the lotus, and then we'll lie down to test that out. Now, in the beginning, it might not be comfortable for you to lie down in the lotus position, but what will happen is over time, your hips will open. Then you're going to come onto your elbows, and send your chest forward as you reach the knees toward the ground, and exhale as you reach the head back. Now traditionally you would have entered this directly from shoulder stand. This is a spinal extension, so we're reaching forward with the hands, and then traditionally this posture is done with the knees reaching forward and towards the ground. The arms are straight, the shoulder blades roll down the back, and your pelvis is tipping forward and down to help the knees reach towards the ground. Every time you inhale, you're lifting your chest, and every time you exhale, you're actively pushing into your feet to lift the chest away from your lotus as you're placing your Padmasana or your lotus position on the ground. If you're unable to do the lotus position, the easiest modification is to take the legs out straight and keep the hands right next to the hips. You don't want to sit on your hands because the next posture that comes involves lifting the hands. So this is a nice, easy version of Matysasna. You'll notice that this is a spinal extension, so what we're doing is creating a firm foundation in the thighs and then lifting the spine up and away from that firm foundation, lifting the ribs, rolling the shoulders down the back, and gazing right in between the eyebrows to let the energy rise all the way up the spine. And in this posture, we take a nice long 8 breaths. And you want to be sure that when you inhale, the belly stays sucked in. So we're breathing and lifting the spine up out of the pelvis. Then, if you're coming directly out, you release the lotus and lie down. Okay, traditionally, again, what would happen is you'd continue on in the series, but Matysasna is just a very important posture because it helps the energy continue to flow up the spine, and it reestablishes the basics of back bending in a really approachable manner. So all of the foundations of back bend really should be there. You should feel a firm foundation in your pelvic floor, and each of the spinal processes or the vertebra should really lift away. Each vertebra should lift away from the other, so you're creating space in every single joint of your spine. It's that spaciousness that heals the spine, so be aware of that and breathe into it. Remember that this should be relaxing, so if the lotus is too challenging, just go ahead and straighten your legs. And traditionally, again, you'd enter this directly from the shoulder stand sequence from Urdhva Padmasana, and you'd follow with the next posture, which is Uttana Padasana. There's some other videos on that, so you can stay tuned and check those out. Thanks so much for watching.